Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Monday edition of Second Breakfast with me and whoever decides to show up this bright and squirrely Monday morning. I'm in a good mood. I primered a crap ton of those dungeon dwellers. I am saving the dragon for last. It's actually kind of not too bad. Julie Guthrie sculpt. I'm uh, holding off on this because, as it turns out, in Dungeon Dwellers, in the new RPG by Reaper Miniatures, uh, a rebooting of the old Heritage game. I'm not going to call it a role playing game. I'm not sure what to call it because it was the bare minimum of a game, but I loved it all the same. Um, all the dragons in Dungeon Dwellers are unique, and just because it's red doesn't mean it's going to breathe fire, which I kind of adapted a long time ago. Ask my players, my Sunday evening D&D players, but I'm going to wait for this not only because of that, but because it's the big monster in the Kickstarter. It's not that big, but it's big enough to give your players a run for their money, provided they're not like 15th level or some crap like that. So I'm going to save it for last. I'm also saving the hero characters um, for last because I'm actually going to primer them white instead of black, and I was doing all black this morning. But there's some really nifty stuff in here, as you saw this morning, or you're watching now in my Dungeon Dwellers unboxing. The books are massive, and it's going to be a lot of reading. And so far, just thumbing through the player's handbook, I'm I'm hopeful. I don't know much about the rules, so we'll see what that has to offer. As I get through it, and of course I'll show it off. But I've got a lot of books coming in the mail. I forgot about the Planet of the Apes solo rules, which will be coming probably today or tomorrow or some such. Hopefully um, my copy of the new Red Room uh, Western role playing game from the Red Edition rule set. That should be here. It should have already been here from what McGill said. And then I've also ordered the Vigilantes for Shadow Dark by our good friend OGGM. And since I'm going to be playing in his superheroes game, kind of makes sense that I should have the rule book. It was only like $10, even from Lulu plus shipping. But I don't know when that'll be here. That could be here hopefully in the next 2 weeks, so that I have it for gaming purposes. If not, I'll have it by the second playthrough of that, which will be deep into July. And then I think I might have something else in the mail. I got a few minis here and there. Hey, what's up, George? Good hanging out with you Saturday. Sorry, and thanks for all those wonderful videos. I showed them to the wife, and what's up, Edgelord King? And she's like, "Who's this guy?" And I'm like, "Shut up." She's like, he's real handsome. Is that supposed to be you? Shit like that. Right in the nuts. But she got a giggle out of it. So thanks again, George. I'm looking forward to somehow implementing them in the new intro that we can put together for the show, because I'm sure you're tired of just seeing my ugly mug drink out of my Arduin mug, which is cocoa flavanol nonsense. Let's see if it'll keep these old bones alive a few extra centuries. Um, Other than that, I am going to start Zenithal highlighting all these minis with Sky Gray, kind of mindless work, but something to keep my fingers busy while I'm talking to you, fine ladies and gentlemen. I have some other minis on my table, but I want to get this done so that I can start showing them off as I talk about the Dungeon Dwellers game. Because back in the day, my first Dungeons and Dragons game was Dungeon Dwellers by Heritage Miniatures, which was a paint and play set, which I will be showing off because I have them all, not just for Dungeon Dwellers, but for I don't have the Knights and Magic anymore. I sold those off, which I shouldn't. I don't have the Lord of the Rings. Good luck finding those. But I do have Galacta 25, and I do have the superheroes and the famous monsters, which I did paint up last September, October. Yeah, that's George. He just goes uh, by that name or Rooster Games or Rooster Gaming. Um, and so, what are you guys up to? I had, like I said, a really fun game Saturday. Got to a late start, but we got to uh, some interesting things, and now they're stuck right in the middle of a big fight with 500 hobgoblins and a giant lizard man, like a lizard king kind of thing, and then a four-armed, flame-haired, ebony-looking monstrosity that I might or might not have just pulled out of my ass, uh, deep inside the heart of a volcano on their uh, ser- search for the controls to the flying island in which the volcano inhabits. Uh, Yet there's all kinds of surprises waiting for him there. And we had a good show Saturday night. Thanks to George popping in. It's been a while. And who else was? James L was there, of course, making us all rethink what we're doing with our life and why we're not wargaming more, I guess. James, if you're out there, cheers. And while I know I should be working on finishing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 23 other minis on my desk. Um, some of them are at that ass stage, uh, where they look like shit, but you're actually at the halfway point, and I'm trying to just figure out exactly what I should do. A couple of them are not safe for work, so I'm not going to show them here. I will show them on my Discord, so you can laugh at the shitty paint jobs they're going to probably end up with. This one, I'm really, really disappointed. It's an alien woman, and I tried to get her skin to be orange, kind of like Firestar from uh, Teen Titans, which I always had like a crush on, and always thought that was kind of hot. That bright orange uh, skin tone, and it's just splotchy as hell, and maybe another coat, but I'm leery of that. um, Edgelord says he's preparing for a fall campaign to start level one and take it till it ends. Nice, nice. Fall is a great time to start a game. Spring, summer also seems like a good time. Winter, you're probably already in a good game by then. Uh, I'm actually itching to run the new Western game. Yes, I have that amount of minis to paint as well, but I'm just a little bit at a time, and of course, getting stuff in the mail from 2 years ago that doesn't really help because there's like I got about like 38 minis from the Kickstarter on top of the 24 that are on my desk, on top of the uh, ton of minis in my garage and elsewhere. One of these days I'll get them. I'll get them all done, but no hurry. The faster you work, the farther you get behind. So let's randomly pull. Oh, you know what? I want to do the troll. Although there's some really cool sculpts here. This beholder you can't really see because it's all black. Is really got an interesting. So maybe you can see the eye stalks. They've got these sort of like almost like claw like things at the end of them, so you could see how it could blink and pick stuff up at the same time. It's kind of interesting, but I'm also going to save that one for later because I like to do the some of the more mundane stuff first, and then reward myself with something neat. This harpy is just nasty, just foul looking. Uh, just in sorry about the pun, but in so many ways, it's just ugly, which is what you want. And then a couple of surprises. There were these giant fire beetles. Unfortunately, one of them is missing an antennae, which really kind of pisses me off. But they're in this clear plastic, which will uh, be kind of fun to paint up with some of the clear new washes. That I got this new orange wash from Army Painter that I think is going to be really, really cool. Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is for these, I'm actually going to try something that I don't always do. I usually just dry brush them white and speed paint them, but I'm actually going to dry brush them gray, and then I'm going to go over the gray with white, and maybe if I'm feeling really, really, really ambitious, I might hit them up with a little bit of ivory or antique white just on the very, very edges, and then actually go in and paint them just so they get an even more, blended sort of shade and whatnot. But right here, I've got this Moor troll, um, kind of cool. Most of the sculpts I'm actually really, really happy with. There aren't too many sculpts that I'm like, eh. The goblins being the number ones. Even the armored skeletons are nice. This Minotaur is kind of badass. But the funny thing about all these minis, or most of the minis, is they appear to be 3D printed, which is a big change up for Reaper. Normally they're metal, or they're that crappy Bones white, which I just throw in the garbage now, or they're the Bones gray. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll make them pop, or the little bits of color that they do have because they're going to be darkish. Trolls and ogres and minotaurs and undead, lots of undead, like five skeletons, a banshee. Would have been nice to have a vampire, just saying, but um, I got plenty of Reaper vampires recently. But I was really surprised. I could see the uh, the 3D print supports all throughout the minis, and that took me quite a while to get rid of all of them. And one piece snapped off on the banshee part of her robe when I was getting uh, the supports off. A little piece of her dress or whatever went snap flying off into God knows where. Yeah, Reaper Bones White, even the biggest, chunkiest of Bones White, droop. If they have anything that can droop, they will droop. I did this really, really freaking awesome paint job on a white dragon, lots of blue undertones. It turned out great. It was, right. And a year later, it looks like it's eaten out of a freaking dog bowl. It's bent over so hard because the ankles just cannot support the weight of, and we're not talking a lot of weight in some cases, but they just can't support the weight. The same goes for WizKids minis. It turns out they also used a shitty plastic. This stuff I noticed is bendable, but at the same time sturdy um, in the ankles and elsewhere. So hopefully they'll last longer, and if not, Reaper, you will be hearing from my lawyer. I'm kidding, of course. Um, I'm really happy to get this Kickstarter. Uh, it was funny because I actually thought when I got the notification that it was from Archon Studios saying that I owed them money for shipping, etc. I'm like, I thought I already took care of that, and then I double checked and was like, Reaper, what the hell? Yeah, spear shafts, everything. I mean, even the dragon ankles, even the big giant freaking thing from Whiz Kids, that sort of giant minotaur looking thing. It's just like going for a crash landing. It's bent over so bad that it looks like it's freaking like doing a Larry Moe and Curly run around the corner thing. Um, and their plastic is just as bad, and it's not the white stuff; it's a gray looking plastic, and it's a shame because I have a bunch of Whiz Kids minis. The only thing I'll buy from Whiz Kids are their minis because there's no like Anyways, we'll see what happens with these. Um, Hopefully, with a lot of paint jobs and maybe even a clear coat, I can keep them from bending if that's their fate. Otherwise, I'll look for the same minis in metal because I think some of these are available in metal if you look real hard and far and wide. But I was like really just taken back with the fact that some of these were 3D printed. Um, I didn't know that was a thing, and in which case that makes um, the cost, as we all know, minuscule, and therefore the price overinflated for a Reaper Mini if it's just going to be 3D printed. At which point I will never buy any more of them because um, there's no way I should be paying $5 for a 3D print of this. It's just we know the cost. If it's going to be that bad, go to the old Texas miniature packaging, which was just a little plastic bag with a card stapled on the top so it could hang on a spinner rack and take your chances if they break because they're 3D printed. And right, there's just no justification for it other than what James L said is maybe they were just trying to meet production needs for the Kickstarter, which I think it did pretty well. I don't know that it broke $1 million, but I'm pretty certain it did okay, as a couple 100,000 or whatever. And the books are just chunky and heavy. Oh my god, the whole Kickstarter box weighed almost 15 kilograms, which I don't know what that translates to pounds, but all of the weight was the 4 books that came with it, or 5 books. The 3 core rule books and 2 different adventure campaign books, one hardcover, one not, and all thick, heavy paper, glossy. So they're pretty heavy. I'm certain the because it was like 14 point something something uh, kilograms. I'm pretty sure the books were the 14 kilograms, and the extra was just the minis because there's not much weight to those at all. But we'll see what happens. I'm hoping. I did watch a few videos about the game, the Dungeon Dwellers game. Right. Here's the thing though. Believe it or not, Reaper metal miniatures are super cheap, relatively speaking. If you find them on eBay from sellers who've had them in their store forever, they'll often give you a discount, or they have a discount when you buy like $50 worth of stuff. They'll give you free shipping. That's like $20 off sometimes, especially if you buy those big old hard cases that they sell with minis in them or with paints in them. I delight in finding those and sellers who offer free shipping and order one of those and then make up the difference for the $50 or whatever on a couple of minis and then get all that in the mail and looking on the box, seeing that it costs them like $30 to ship it. I'm like, yeah, I scored. Because all this stuff, most of these places, they pay only half of retail value for them, so they're making a profit. They've probably already made their money back on other stuff and what they have, But Reaper minis, by and large, you can find them pretty darn cheap in metal. Sometimes it's even cheaper than the Bones Black. I'm just like, $5 for a metal mini and 4.90 something for a plastic. Yeah, I'll take the metal. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's just because they've had them in their store for so long. And they're just trying to move product, because even at the price, whatever the prices they're offering, that they're still making 10 or 20% profit, and they've already made their major profit on the more timely, more in demand items. But I've been picking up almost exclusively Reaper miniatures for the past 5 or 6 months. I did pick up a Valiant miniature that had been in my watch list for literally years. And like I said, it's a not safe for work mini. And I'll show that off on my Discord when I finally get a worthy paint job. So let's see. Let's find a good crappy dry brush. Um, I don't want to use my actual dry brush brushes because um, I'm going to do so many dry brushing runs over these minis. It's kind of pointless to go all, you know, I'll go with this one. It's kind of close to a dry brush. It was a flat edge. Yeah, I'm a metal mini guy. A lot of my fans or friends out here are. Uh, yeah, GW got a lot of my money too, especially for Epic Space Marines, which is apparently how you win that game because the big metal chunky vehicles and stuff were far superior to infantry unless you had just the right infantry in just the right place at the right time. Your armored vehicles and things like that. You just you know lay waste to everything on the battlefield uh, until infantry finally managed to freaking mosey on over to something to get into hand-to-hand combat because their 10 centimeter range is just retarded. I mean, it's the way it was, but I love that game. I my favorite war game of all time. So, Mr. Moore Troll, a little tip when I start my dry brushing, I always try to dry brush a couple of swipes on the base. As you can see, there's like nothing there, which means I took too much paint off, and it's super hot up here. So whatever I dry brush is going to dry really quick. Let's see, you can use the base to determine just how much paint is being left because there's nothing worse than dry brushing and hitting it at first swipe and it's just like boom, too much paint. This way you can come at it uh, with a little insight as to how much paint your brush is going to deposit on the mini. Because with these darker minis, these monsters, I want them to look shadowy and foreboding and as spooky as possible, so that when you put them on the table, it's like, what the hell is that? That's the best thing you can hear as a DM, right? Yeah, I've got some makeup brushes, but they tend to be like really big and too much. Finding the really smaller makeup brushes is harder and harder these days. Um, and I think I have some somewhere, but I'm okay with just turning an old brush like this into a dry brush. And remember, when you're dry brushing the zenithal, don't even bother going with the underarms and things like that. It's just you don't want that. You want that to be dark. If that's a shadow, there's really no light shining up under your armpits and between your legs and things like that. Maybe a little kiss of paint, just to help with whatever color you're going to put there. Mostly, look, where the light would be coming from, like the torchlight, if you will, from the dungeon. Is it coming straight down or at the sides? That's where you're going to get the most reflection of the light, and then that'll make the colors pop up there and slowly fade into the shadows as you uh, move downward. The tops of the feet often, will get some light. Uh, and when it comes to the bases, it depends on what you've got. If it's just like dungeon stonework, you want to get some paint only on the edges of those cracks so that you can see that there are in fact cobblestones or cracks or what have you on the ground, because that's why the sculptor did that, is to make the base look kind of interesting instead of just a flat base. But don't overdo it, because then that just brightens up the whole picture or the scene that the miniature is trying to convey. This one's got like he's standing on some sort of broken ground, so just the little pebbles are what you're going to want to see. But there you go, all gray. Up, his fist is devoid of paint, and I do want those fingers to be visible so you can see his fist the inside of his palm. Here on his other hand, I don't know why the paint is not going in there. She's like, nope, not going in there. I don't want to go in there. It's scary. And I'm actually using my homemade dry brush board. Finally, I made it a couple of weeks ago, and I was still using napkins. And I'm like, what am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have any room on my table. Let's fix that. And I did, and now I can use it. And there we go. The hands look much better. And his face is something not even a mother troll could love. Look at that. And then when I'm done with all these, then I'll go and use the same thing, but with maybe I'll just go antique white instead of white. Yeah, you know what? Most white paint cakes up on me. What do you use, Shadow? I like Hobby Lobby tubes for that. Actually, I use whatever I've got. I just make sure I shake it. Not just shake it though. You might or might not have a pokey tool. If not, go raid your grandma's knitting basket and find one of these knitting needles, really thin, that will poke through the whole of your dropper bottles. But take off the nipple, take off the cap, take off the nipple, and mix the paint down below, and really get that back into the medium and everything else, and just test your paint. If it comes out, cakey, then try two things. One, go to a different room where it's not so hot because it's just drying up and that's what's happening. Or add a little bit, mixing medium, or even a little water in the palette, and just really, if you're just using napkins, that absorbs some of the moisture out of the paint and out of the brush. But make yourself something like this. I just took one of these dollar store cutting mats and just glued a bunch of, this is just rocks and sand, and these are bits of sprue, and I use these as like a gauge. So like, watch, I just put some paint on there, and as I dry brush, I can see, how much paint is on that I'm leaving behind, on something that I haven't, painted. And then again, take the mini and use the base, the bottom of the base, to see how much paint you're leaving behind, so that you can tell if it's caking up or if it's, too much paint still. And then the other trick, I always start on their back sides when I'm dry brushing, so that if I make a mistake, if it looks like crap, it's on the back and not the front, because then you're just going to want to like take it all off and start over. And this way, if you start on the back side, you can go, oh, okay, not bad. I can then turn around real quick and do the face when the dry brush has got the perfect amount of paint on it. And, I like to come at my dry brushing from different angles just to make sure, as I'm scrubbing that dry brush paint on there, that I don't miss any of the little things that I want to highlight with the dry brush. I also like the fact that these Reaper Minners all say RMP USA on the backside. Really neat. Uh, Sometimes you don't know who made a miniature years later. And I'm not going to mount these to any other bases, because all the bases are, except for the goblins, of course, are pretty solid, pretty chunky. There's plenty of stability there. Need a little more paint on that one. Um, there's a few minis in this set that could use a little bit bigger bases, but they're goblins. They're only going to be on the table for a few minutes before the player characters annihilate them, right? And I actually, I was talking about this the other day. I don't actually have a lot of goblin and orc minis, and there were no orcs in here. I was kind of hoping for orcs, but I also noticed that they've got a set of like 5 or 6 orcs in a big cardboard box that costs more than everything inside it to produce. If you aren't aware that printing costs, boxes are insanely expensive. I used to work in the printing industry, and even back then, They were the lion's share of the printing cost for whatever reason, and so Reaper's got these box sets of minis that are just, it's like $30 for 5 minis, and they're bones black, or maybe they're 3D printed now. I don't know, like hobgoblins and orcs and gnolls and stuff like that, and some cool NPCs, henchmen, which are actually uh, reminiscent, if not direct homage, whatever, to the old heritage dungeon dweller line. There was a famous blister pack that had 3 or 4 henchmen, including some guys carrying a chest, kind of like the Grenadier one, but I thought it was just a little bit better the sculpt. And again, it's like $30 for you know 5 or so minis, and it's just like, especially if they're 3D printed. If they're 3D printed, I'm like, forget it. No, 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 no. I'll wait until some poor sucker has them in their store and trying to get rid of them will drop the price, because it's just money's tight these days, and if you want to be competitive and you don't want your second, third party, whatever sellers getting screwed by guys like me, um, you'll do something about it. Maybe you don't want 30 party sellers. Maybe you want to grow up and be just like Games Workshop. I highly recommend against that. But you know, said money's tight, and I'm a cheapskate when it comes to certain things. Obviously, there are things I will be dumb about. But there you go, Mr. Minotaur. Uh, Edgelord, I gotta do that dry brush palette. Looks killer. I'm using an empty paper towel roll. Yeah, no, 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 don't do that. If you've got a bottle of super glue, some sprue parts. I actually took some milliput, I think it was, and made our logo here, just because I saw all the other palettes were like, made by a company, so they had their logo, and I'm like, all right, I'll do that. I also glued a couple of bottle caps, which I should be using here, here, and here, so that I can just put the paint right in there. And I haven't done that even once. I'm using this old Boba Fett popper because it's silicone and just a habit. I should be using the milk caps. The other trick I'll show you. We learned a long time ago. Um, some of the rocks are actually falling off, and I spray painted the crap out of this. But here, I'll see if you can see this. When I put paint on the brush, I will scrape it off on the lip of the bottle cap, and then I'll test it here and see how much is being left off. And if you do it right, that paint that's scraped off on the edge there, you can then go back and get it and use it. Um, when you do the paper towel method, you're literally wasting a lot of paint. You're throwing that paint away, because you can't go back and get it unless you're really really quick about it. And uh, you know, like the old adage, waste not, want not. If you can go back and get it and use that paint, you should. And it will also have dried a bit, and you can use it as perfect dry brush paint, because it'll have allowed some of the moisture to evaporate. I'm doing the harpy now, and I'll give you guys a good look at this ugly biatch in just a minute, because she is just nasty. Um, you can almost see her privates, which are really awful looking. Don't just get over it quickly. Brother Nord, what are you practicing? What's up, Stonehead? I am painting some Reaper miniatures from the Dungeon Dwellers Kickstarter that got in the mail yesterday. Just dry brushing Zenithal highlights over a black primer, and then I'll go back over it, like I said, with a ivory or antique white instead of a bright white, because I want all these things, these monsters, to look spooky and dark and grim and all the other buzzwords that we use right now when we're trying to, show what edgy, um, edge lordy loner freaking dungeon masters we are. Um, and then of course the heroes I'm going to paint all bright and cheery. Um, Not just because two of them are female. Uh, I'm glad to hear that, Edgelord. And we used to do that with a Pringles lid. We would use Pringles lids, which we have a stack of, because they made great little palettes. Because sometimes you don't want this big palette getting in the way of your work, and you drop the paint in the edge of the cap, like right here, you know, and then you dip your brush in and then scrape it off so it drips back down into the pool. We would actually even take the Pringles lid and tilt it, like instead of it flat like this, tilt it just a little so all the paint would pool down in a very uh, pool in a little crevice down there at the bottom of the Pringles cap, so that the paint would pool up and dry a little slower. You maybe one day. I don't really have a good camera for that. I'm actually using my laptop here. Maybe I could do it with my tablet, but I can't actually see what the camera sees when I do that. Maybe, well, yeah, I suppose I could do that. It's an eclectic mix of things from dozens of different companies, and some things that you'll never see again. Um, just because I'm a pack rat and I hang on to things. I've got old Grendel Scotia miniatures up there. I've got stuff from Bronze Age miniatures, which I need to make an order today. I need to go through all my John Carter minis. If you've never shopped at Bronze Age minis and you like things like John Carter or Barbarians, I highly recommend you go over there, check out Bronze Age miniatures, because they're just some of the finest sculpts I've ever seen. It's just a little one man operation, um, but uh, his Tharks, or his Green Martians, or Wasteland Mutants, he calls them. Thanks, Stonehead. Uh, okay, I think let's do the top of her head just a little more, and then I will show you this ugly biatch of a harpy. She's going to be my harpy queen. One, because I've only got a few other harpies, and she's the ugliest. But I don't know if you can see that. She's got the full, like, shaved head, side of the head. Just a total. I'm going to give her, of course, pink hair. Just so you know what I'm shooting for here. But she's got the saggy titties. She's got something hanging off her bottom parts that just looks wrong. Um, Maybe she's transitioning or something. I don't know, but this is just nasty. I want to wash my hand after touching that mini now. I will be upping my painting game when I finally sit my fat ass down to paint. I'm going to be painting a Chaos Blood Bowl team. That's one game I never got into. I played 2 years of football, but I could never find anybody who would like shell out the money for a team. And I wasn't going to buy a bunch of teams like I did with Epic Space Marines. But that game looked like a lot of fun, just like kind of goofy, silly, not taking itself too seriously kind of game. Which I'm very much a fan of that idea. Not everything has to be just so serious. Just now I'm doing the ogre. Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's a beast for sure. Stuff on, yeah. It's just ugly. They really went out of their way to make her look like she came from Seattle. Just saying. And if you're from Seattle, well, don't give me any shit in the comment section. You live there, you know what it's like. I live in California, so I got Palmdale. So I mean, I've got LA. I live in Palmdale. LA is nasty, and Palmdale is pretty nasty too. When I was just making I kid you not, the wife said you got 9 minutes or 8 minutes to go into the store and run because we're in such a hurry. And I'm like, it's like if you're not back by I'm leaving. I made it back with 2 minutes to spare, but in that time, I bumped into 11 freaking homeless people just in our Walmart shopping parking lot, and I know there were more, um, and that was in 7 minutes. Uh, I walked past 9 different homeless people with carts and bikes and just all kinds of crap, and um, it's just if you know anything about California, you know that they import them on purpose. Whether it's by design or intentional, there's lots of arguments for you know either. But California to begin with is like inviting in the fact that it's got great weather year round, and I know if I was homeless, I would not want to be someplace that's super cold. Super hot is gross, but at least you won't die from it because there's always a place to get water, a water fountain or something like that. But you know, sleeping outdoors, in below zero temperatures, can get you dead. You just might not wake up because malnourishment and stuff like that. I don't know. I've never done that, but I I could see why people come here. Then when you add on top of all the money they give away, uh, you know, why wouldn't you make a beeline for California? Just saying. I'm kind of surprised that I don't have anybody coming in to uh, come in to chat with me. I appreciate you guys in the comments section, but I was kind of expecting DM James to show up. I think Bloodworth's on vacation. Squirrel, not sure what he's doing. He might be back to work. Can't seem to get any paint on this club. It's a like a tree branch, but it just does not want to. I guess it's just not. It's not like taking the paint as well as I'd like it to. Maybe because there's. Just gave my dog a heart attack. Dropped my cooler there, thermos. Okay, that's a little better. And if it's too much, when I go over it with the whatever wood color I'm going to use, I could just throw a wash on it. Oh, hey, I have a Zoom to do with my wife at 1 o'clock. No worries, Bloodworth. Glad to see you in the out there in TV land listening, watching me paint up some goofy minis. This ogre is I like it. I got to admit, no worries, no worries. Uh, he's got kind of a you know nice look to him. Very clean sculpts, but I guess that's because they're 3D printed, and I gotta wonder if they're not what do they call it? Computer made by computer, CAD 3D sculpting programs or something, and then thrown in a 3D printer because they're clean. I mean, there's some places where I'm just like that is like perfect. For example, this ogre, um, his loincloth, whatever skirt, whatever you want to call it, he's wearing is just like that. You could just see that. It's perfect. It's just all the lines of it are just absolutely perfect. A warrior build, but the bigger they are, the slower they move. Yeah, yeah. And it's an ogre, so he's not too bright to begin with, which is weird. Good morning, Dean, or good afternoon, evening, as the case may be. I always found it. Take care, Bloodworth. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Either way, enjoy your vacation. And I'll see you then. I always kind of bum out when they make like the big, strong, burly things like dumb. It's okay if Conan's like that, big, but he's really really smart, and it's like ogres and a lot of giants just seem to be like functionally retarded, and it's like they wouldn't survive. They really wouldn't. Um, Faster, sneakier things would escape them, and they would not get the free lunch that you know they're often attributed to getting. They need to you know evolve, especially with you know big giant freaking craniums. You would think that there's more than just a few functioning brain cells in there. Okay, let's do this guy. This guy's going to be rough. It's a carrion crawler like thing, but you see those little tentacle things. That's going to be the trick, not to snap those off. They got some bend to them, so I might get away with it, but we'll see if I can do it without destroying them. Because something like that, you're not gluing it back on. You just, I mean, unless you've got like supervision to be able to see where the pieces just line up, like the puzzle pieces, go back together. It's not going to happen the way you think. And you'll have that big glue blob in the center where you put them together, and you'll never be able to file that down without risk snapping it. Are you doing well? Enjoying my first day of vacation. The fact that we don't have tropical temperatures anymore. I am glad to hear that. I don't know what the weather's going to be like today, but I will soldier on. We're getting ready for Jackie's birthday this week. Not going to say when, because he's like, don't talk about me, Uh, just between you and me. He held the camera for last night's video and didn't want me to say anything. Well, I didn't say anything in that video. Doesn't mean I can't say anything now, right? Technicalities, technicalities. Um, and he's just wanting to do his own thing and make his own way in the world, and you got to respect that. But it's like, dude, you're always going to be my little boy. No matter how big you get, which isn't much bigger, it looks like. No matter how smart you get, no matter how successful you are still my little squeaker who used to do the Jim Lemmy show on this channel. Who, if it wasn't for him and his comedic genius and his and all the things he did back in the day with this channel, I wouldn't be here today. You guys would have never noticed us. Just been another old geezer, freaking, painting minis and talking smack, role playing games. Um, who just popped in? I bet it's Dean. I was right. Ha ha ha. I get the booby prize. Dean, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, like I said. It's like really night and day when, yeah. Like the humidity is still high, it's just now it's not humidity plus.
Mm-hmm. Plus, god awful temperatures.
Yeah,
When I lived in Virginia, it was famous for that. It was like because it's really green out there. There's a lot of trees, but
yeah.
those trees live in ground that's really really moist. And when it decides to get hot, all that moisture decides to go floating around in the air until the nighttime when it's going to go right back down into the ground. It's like where I live, we've got a lot of swimming pools, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like a lot. Um, and as soon as it gets to about 100 degrees, half those swimming pools are in the air. And then
Yeah, that's yeah, that's also how the one of the reasons the skater culture is really thrived in California back when was because they had like a heat wave several years in a row, and yeah, all the pools were empty.
well, they come right back down. I mean,
Yeah,
because we live in a valley up here in the high desert, so there's nowhere for it to go. But also because of the mountains, that make up the valley, the clouds like go right around our, the outside clouds from other places.
Yeah.
They'll go right around our area, our valley. We'll see like clouds, forming off on the horizon. It's like it's gonna rain, and then they just go around. It's like, oh man, come on, give us a break. We could use the rain, but no, access is denied. We don't deserve it, apparently. Uh, but then when we do get rain, it'll rain like last year, or it rained for like two weeks every day. It was nice, but then it just up and gone. You got an oversized squeaker too? Yeah, they're the best. I
What's a
mean,
squeaker?
a little kid
Ah,
that, according to Jackie, it's like a little kid that's on the internet trying to be, big and grown up, and
okay,
how
like a
little kids are like showing off
yeah.
on camera. Um,
Yeah, yeah, this saying about childhood versus adulthood is when you're a child, you wish to be an adult, and when you're an adult, you wish to be a child.
no, I mean maybe other people, but there's some adult things I really like to do that I don't want kids doing. So
That's fair. But yeah, I think it's more like a question of his responsibilities. Like a
mhm.
child wants to be responsible like the adult, but the adults are tired and wants to not have
Yeah, oh sure,
responsibilities like
sure,
a
sure.
child.
Yeah, and I was talking about that episode of the Twilight Zone, Kick the Can or whatever, where the grown ups, and then there's the movie Cocoon and the RPG from the Red Room, End of Innocence, where you play kids, on their last big adventure before summer ends, and they go off to high school or college or whatever.
Yeah.
Is
All I'm
very
saying,
appealing.
if I was in such a scenario, I'm taking a turtle with me. That's a Stephen King reference. Apparently, like Ed the clown. He's apparently a cosmic spider, and his counterpiece is a cosmic turtle. So I'm taking a turtle with me in case, yeah, Stephen King writes the book.
Okay, I didn't read the book, but I did see the original movie with Tim Curry, not the other one.
Yeah,
George is getting fires right now. That sucks. Don't catch on fire. That's
yeah,
really, 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 really bad for your complexion.
yeah.
Um,
I will say, Ed, you can just watch the either the original miniseries or the two new movies.
mhm.
Of course, the original miniseries should have been two movies, but you know how it was back then.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny when I recorded it when it first came out. Because I think my mom wanted to watch it, and so I recorded it. Next morning, I wake up, and I think we watched it together. I don't remember. I watched it, and it was long. It was like 4 hours long. I watched it,
Yeah.
and it's kid, sooner that I just finished watching it, my best friend comes over. It's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I just watched the It mini series. Like, oh, hey, let's watch it. I'm like, okay,
No.
fine.
Uh,
So 8 hours of it, and I was done. I was just
Yeah. Like the reason why, well, you have watched it. Spoilers to everyone else. The reason why it should be two movies instead of a miniseries is you really, narrative-wise, you really should split up the childhood story and the adult part of the story
mhm.
instead of like mixing them together.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why I would say, other than good acting, that why the new movie works. It's just the problem is the people going watching it already know the story of the original, so it's like, yeah, you already know that there is an adult section.
Yeah, even in the kids section, there's an adult section, or at least that's what I hear from the book. I never read it.
Yeah. Everyone ignores the book, other than like when Stephen King grandstands again, which he
Yeah, I'm
tends to
not not
do.
not, not a big fan of him. There were things he did that I kind of enjoyed as a kid.
Mm,
That line meteor shit that was funny. You know, from Creep Show, I think it was. That was fun. But growing up. and watching and reading some of his stuff, I'm like, yeah, I don't like this guy. And then when he, like so many people do when they get famous, they run their mouth about stuff that nobody cares about or wants to hear their opinion. Just shut up and write books and maybe be okay with that. I will give it
Yeah,
to him though. Shawshank Redemption, the movie was awesome. I don't know how much of that was true to the book, but that was an awesome movie.
I don't know. I just know, like, do you know The Shining, or do you remember it rather?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Did you know he wrote a sequel for two reasons? First, that he wanted to expand the universe, and second off, he was tired of people making theories about his universe based on the movie that guy made. So
Hmm.
he wrote Doctor Sleep.
Never. I might have heard of it. It sounds vaguely familiar, but not really. So I don't know anything about it. Um,
Basically, Doctor Sleep. The premise of that is you find out that yes, that there is basically a group of not immortals, but like louche vampires, aka they eat essence from children. That's not
okay.
necessarily what louche is, but it is within this case. And
Mm-hmm.
they apparently target kids who has The Shining,
Okay.
and that's the sequel. I don't remember what it's about other than more than I don't know all the details other than that, and that what do you call it? The protagonist from the first movie, he's an adult now and a detective or something.
Jack Nicholson.
No, the kid in the first movie.
Oh, the kid.
In the
Okay.
second movie, he's yeah, an adult and a detective.
Okay.
From what I heard, it's a good movie. It's just it's clearly made because he was annoyed about the movie and people making theories about it.
Well, maybe not be so vague, and uh,
Yeah,
you won't have that happen, or do exactly that and deal with the consequences, and be enigmatic and actually be kind of cool in doing so, as opposed to giving it all away and leaving the mystery completely solved. And you know I don't know.
yeah,
I like endings that don't give it all away, and you're left with a mystery, or things to talk about. What if? I wonder what's going to happen next,
yeah,
kind of thing. Uh, Empire Strikes Back was like the ultimate movie that did that. We were talking for the whole 2 years, like what's going to happen, until of course the paperback came out, and then then we knew.
Oh,
But
oh, I didn't know the paperback came out first. I thought it came out afterwards.
no, no. Well, maybe it did. I don't even remember reading it, but I know with Empire Strikes Back, the paperback book was out before I got to see the movie, and we saw the movie within the first week or two that it hit the theaters, and that was traumatic as a kid, as a 12-year-old kid, finding out that Luke or Vader was Luke's father. I was just like, I threw the book across the room. I was so upset. I was like 12, and I'm like, no. Um,
I don't think I ever had an experience like that.
Well, I was, like I said, I was 12 when it first came out, and highly invested in the whole, story. It was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen. Mind you, I had seen Planet of the Apes, and that was awesome. But when it came to freaking shoot 'em ups in space and a
Yeah,
villain unlike anything I'd ever seen before, just mysterious and dark and powerful, and could do all kinds of crazy space magic. It was just
yeah,
out of this world. There was nothing like it. Anybody who says, you know, whatever, it's like is probably seen a lot of other things maybe before or after to kind of water down the experience. But 1977, there was nothing like that. Logan's Run, yeah, it was colorful, etc., but there was no like overwhelming sense of just intergalactic dread and fear, and everything's hanging in the balance of the empire, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And
yeah.
uh, The
And
spaceships. I mean,
yeah,
there
see you
was.
later, Edgy. Eller Edge.
Okay, sorry. I am a little behind on the chat. Last thing about deserts is you get some rain, all the weeds just pop up out of nowhere. This is Stephen King's Spirit Animals Cocaine. Creep Show was one of George Romero's best movies. Uh, stars Ewan McGregor, Danny. Take care, Edgelord. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your summer because I guess we're full fledged summer mode now here uh, in Western civilization. I know our buddy James L is freezing his ass off in Australia. Um, that always is so weird. You know, when you think about it, half the world is like doing the exact opposite of whatever's going on in your neck of the woods.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I can see Argentina right now. They're having the issue that the only places that's warmer than or colder than theirs is the North and South Pole right now.
and they're probably just in what, like fall for them, or coming out of fall,
I don't remember. I just know like it's one of the southest parts you can get to.
right? But I'm, you know, it's still like, you know, 7 years ago I didn't, pay attention to the rest of the world, and now that we do the eBay or internet thing,
Yeah.
I've made a whole lot of new friends and learned a whole lot of new stuff about different places in the world. We were kind of you know self-centered, being the superpower and all that.
Yeah.
Um, it we don't try to be ignorant. We just we got so much good shit going on that it's easy to get distracted and
Oh,
forget.
I get you on that. Like yeah, short version. I get you on that. That they like that living in this American is great for the things you for the things it is, and what do you call it? And there is a lot of reason not to care about the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's not not because we're bad. I mean, you guys come over here, we'll show you a great time.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean that is also Americans are actually known for their hospitality, and that's one of the reasons. Like the Board movie is such blasphemy, if you want to say, because he really takes advantage of all the hospitality he got. Because it turned out not all of them were actors or
yeah,
knew what he was doing.
yeah, yeah. And like with the World Cup, I saw hundreds of videos of people from all over coming to visit the states and just being blown away with all the weird shit that we got here.
Yeah.
The food mostly. I mean, like we just take it for granted. We've just been blessed, and yeah, yeah. Of course, our food's terrible. How do you think we get to be the leaders in obesity? I mean, you got to try. That's not like
I think Mexico is actually as higher, but yes.
yeah. Every one of our family on that side is exactly that, with two exceptions. And one of them is one of those guys who's into lifting weights and doing all the healthy shit, and starting a nice little family. And his wife is pretty healthy too. But everybody else is you know. And then when I put on a few pounds, I'm the one who hears it. It's like, yeah, I know, freaking, I don't get enough exercise. I get it, but it's not because I overeat. It's just because I don't get enough exercise, and what I do eat is crap.
What do you eat, if you don't mind me asking?
Mostly meat, cheese, and bread.
I mean, that's not too bad.
Yeah, but then I go right to sleep.
Ah, so
Just
basically, it's so not so much what you eat; it's more like you're older and your metabolism going a bit down, and now you have to
yeah,
catch up.
because like when we started, if you look at our very first video, I was 145 pounds, maybe 147 ish, because I was riding my bike like 4 miles a day, riding Jackie to school, ride home, ride back to school, ride him home. You
Yeah.
know, through the desert in the hot sun, etc. You know, getting exercise and stuff, reading more, which is weird, which very sedentary, but not you know. And then COVID came around, and
Yep.
riding our bikes became a no-no because everybody would freak out that we'd be riding in the sun, not catching COVID and not getting masks and not
Oh
all
yeah,
the
in
other.
hindsight, the sunlight as a whole, and also like having enough vitamin D, basically not made you immune, but basically turned COVID into regular cold.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't even get sick. I mean, Jackie got sick, I think, a little, but I we didn't get COVID. We didn't get the shot. We barely wore masks. I mean, he kind of had to for school. I think I don't really remember, and he didn't really talk about it. But uh, we didn't get to do the things we wanted to when he was at school. It was but there was a big period where he had no school, and so that's when we started the channel to give ourselves something to do. And you know the rest is, as they say, history. But I love watching those old videos of him. It's just
Mm.
it's a night and day difference. He's grown up and matured so much and so quickly. um,
Yeah, I will admit, like I said several times, he looks like what do you call it? Either a Spanish or English, what do you call it, aristocrat.
yeah, you know who he looks like, which just tickles me to no end. In the band Blue Oyster Cult, there's a man named Buck Dharma. That's not his real name. Buck Dharma is his like stage name, and he's the singer for like "Don't Fear the Reaper" and "Burning for You," and he's this short little Italian guy with a pencil thin mustache, and Jackie and him could easily be related.
Mm.
Um, there's this one video, I think, shooting shark, and Jackie walks around with a wife beater now occasionally, because he's Mexican. And in that video, Buck Dharma is walking around in a wife beater, running around in the desert, and there's some scenes where it's just like, that's fucking Jackie. It's awesome because favorite band and all that. And that
That's
was his
funny.
first concert was Blister Cult. His first movie experience was John Carter. Um, and
Not the worst movie can start out with, and that's not me saying that what do you call it? It's a bad movie. It's just saying there's a lot of worse first movies you can have.
especially at that time, and the whole family enjoyed it. Even his grandma, who speaks not a word of English except no, but doesn't understand it when I say it. Um, uh, she she was like, what the hell am I watching? Oh my god. I can't even imagine the story that was going on in her head. But every time Woola, came running on camera, she's like, oh, because it was
Mm.
funny. It was meant to be funny. um I don't know if Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote it to be funny, but it came across really well done in
I
the
mean, that is
movie.
the problem you sometimes run into. What do you call it? With writing comedy, not in as in performing in it, but writing it in books is unless it's word based, you really have to hope that the reader has an imagination, or like having a more slapstick, how should we say, imagining of movement.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I can't imagine. I mean, I've tried my hand at writing, and I've accomplished a few things that I thought were funny. My favorite author, Roger Zelazny, he's got a really dry sense of humor, and um, having grown up around him, I was able to pick up on it, but you know he that's all he did was write. So not
Yeah.
all he did, but that was his claim to fame, and I think he did it really well, and I miss him every day. One of the great unsung writers of that era, gave us so much, and I just hope to God when they do the Amber series that they don't they don't make me go out and kill somebody, because if Stephen Colbert got a hold of my favorite series of books, yeah.
Wait, what did Stephen Colbert do? in this case.
He just wanted to produce it and whatever, and I
Okay.
appreciate that. You know, and I could even see him playing a minor part in it, but I hate him. I hate him for everything he's ever done, every breath he's ever taken. Um,
Maybe not every
and I
breath
know
he's ever taken, but yes, I definitely agree that like he's one of the most after-turfed people in modern media.
And it's a shame because back when he was on like the Daily Show and stuff like that, and pretending to be the opposite of what he really was, he was actually funny. It was funny watching him make fun of Bush and Clinton, and I think that was the era. Being this over the top, like super, MAGA before MAGA was a thing. Just this super conservative, and pointing out some of the things. It was funny, but then he, jumped ship or whatever. And he was really good as the voice of Professor Impossible, Mr. Fantastic, if you will, from the uh, Venture Brothers. He did a really good job voice acting
Still
that
need to
part,
watch
but
that.
you really do. Um, you will enjoy it. I can guarantee you that. But he wanted too much money to continue the part, so they found someone else, and that guy did just as well a job. So I don't even know who he was.
I mean, that's sometimes great when you're a voice actor that people won't recognize you for the voice.
Hmm. Unlike the Doc Hammer and Jackson Public, who did like 90% of the voices for the entirety of Venture Brothers, there's times where it's like, okay, you screwed up there. You sound like the other character, not the character you're trying to sound like. There's this one scene where one actor is playing two characters in the same scene, and he like reverses them, but they don't fix it, because they're so similar to begin with.
Yeah,
But there are some cases where they're really good at doing voices. So you know, go
man,
figure.
that reminds me of a funny moment in a video game I played. So, um, this woman who she like voices several characters from in different games,
Hmm.
and and it was basically like when she sounded like annoyed, like at this level of a woman, she sounded like a previous character, and it was like, oh, illusion broken.
It's funny too because one of the two characters, Doc Hammer, hold on, he does a bunch of character voices in the cartoon,
Yeah,
but his real life voice, without changing anything about his real life voice, is a particular character, and that particular character is one of the most like socially and physically awkward characters in the whole show. I mean, just like really, really like, oh God, you poor bastard. He's not gonna say who he is, but you're just like, oh man, this character is like rough, and that's that guy's natural voice. And when you see him, he doesn't look like what you'd expect. He's like, dyes his hair weird colors and lots of tattoos and jewelry and skinny Jewish kid. Well, now all grown up, but his voice doesn't match the way he looks, and he's clearly like overcompensating physically to make up for the nerdy voice that he got stuck with. But then he uses that exact voice for the nerdiest character in the show.
I mean, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, did you ever watch Johnny Quest?
I watched the New Adventures of Johnny Quest because I was a kid in
Okay,
the '90s, and
okay.
I didn't know there was a show before that.
Even though it said the new adventure,
I mean, they use CGI.
yeah, I know, but it's right there in the title. Okay,
Yeah,
anyway, and you watch Scooby Doo, of course, because everybody
of
watched Scooby Doo.
course. I also watched Tom and Jerry. Although that was also like a show my father was more into, but that's more um sometimes slapstick is just too much for me because I
Uh,
imagine the pain too much.
in growing up, there was a lot of that. I noticed that,
Yeah.
like in early cartoons, it was always for the most part, like 90% anthropomorphized animals doing people stuff. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all that. Tom and Jerry, Woody Woodpecker. And then it like just stopped. It's like, we're not doing that anymore. I think Animaniacs was like the end of that as far as I can remember. They just said,
That
we're not
sounds
doing that
accurate.
anymore. But
That sounds accurate. Like I know, like there's of course also like shows like motorbikes from Mars and like Top
mhm.
Cat, but they were also like canceled quickly.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. And then they were very much not slapstick comedy. They were action adventure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoffs.
Oh yeah,
And they they had their runs and they did whatever they set out to do or got canceled, like you said. But after that, it's all just people, cartoon characters, weird other characters. Maybe I missed a few. I think there was one with some cats, a family of cats. I forget what it was called, and they were always getting into weird adventures. But it faded away, and the slapstick also kind of faded away. I mean, I guess you got some of it, not so much slapstick, but more like weird, like Adventure Time and
yeah.
Uncle Grandpa and things like that, and even the Teen Titans, the one that was supposed to be funny versus the one that was serious, and even the serious one had its chibi moments.
Oh yeah,
But
Teen Titan Go. So my opinion of Teen Titans, both of them is yes, Teen Titans Go is an abomination, but Teen Titans always already had the issue that like you don't see the interaction between the teenage superheroes and who they're supposed to be mentoring under in the comics. That's just not a thing. What you call it
well, the
in the
reason why
cartoon?
is because um, in the Teen Titans had a comic book where the sidekicks basically got together and said, "Why don't we just do this Justice League thing ourselves and handle crimes that we can handle?" And it was pretty successful. And then, like in the '80s, they revamped the whole thing where they brought in Cyborg, Firestar, Raven, uh, and got rid of Speedy and Kid Flash and Wonder Girl, and revamped with this number one, which was fantastic because episode number two had what's his name, the Terminator guy, um,
Cyborg?
Deathstroke,
Oh yeah, Deathstroke.
and
Yeah,
it was like holy crap! It was like so dark for its time. In retrospect, it's not that dark, but you had Deathstroke, a freaking assassin for hire, trying to kill them off. You had Trigon, Raven's demon father, and just all kinds of like really heavy shit. And somehow the whole rest of the superhero world was just like, it's cool, no worries. You guys go on. You're all driving age. We'll leave you alone. You know, or
meanwhile,
Age of
how they
Ultron.
actually treat Raven in the comics is there's always someone watching her because they know she's a portal if
Uh-huh.
she gets triggered.
Yeah, yeah. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite comic books for a long, long time. And when the cartoon came out, I'm like, okay, I get it. You want to go the dark and serious as much as you can, but you also want to go as goofy as hell because why not? It was just like, it hadn't really been done. I mean, there was a superhero cartoon called The Amazing Heroes with like Rope Man and Tornado Man, just freaking stupid. Um, Baby Man, uh, right? It was just retarded. But I grew up with it, so I was okay with some of the silly stuff that happened. And then I just lost track of the comics, and so I didn't know some of the other stuff that came around later. But I guess it was popular enough to warrant two separate cartoons. For that particular generation. I know Jackie enjoyed watching it, but then again, it was Cartoon Network, and it really wouldn't
Yeah.
matter what was on. We were just once he got home, it was Cartoon Network until dinner time, and then uh, you know, other things, dinner and bath time and homework and then off to bed. That guy turned out really well.
Yeah. I need to ask you something real quick, and it's okay. It's not important when I phrase this like that, but Wonder Woman's sidekick. I know she had it, and I had her because everyone had a sidekick. But was the character even needed? Because I never actually see anything other than and she used to have a sidekick. That's
Who
all
was
I
the
see.
was the sidekick? Wonder Girl.
Yeah, Wonder Girl. Yeah,
Um, it was kind of like Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. They did the same thing. They had the same powers, but you just had or Batman and Robin. You just
mm,
had the teacher, the mentor student dynamic for their interpersonal relationships. You know,
yeah.
and that was just it. It wasn't. She didn't need one. But Batman. I mean, you can say Batman needed Robin for the reason that they've always gone with. Did Wonder Woman need the same thing? Probably not, but maybe, maybe on like a really, really finite level, but I mean, we never perceived her as being in any danger of just like going full on psycho vigilante,
Yeah.
going like Punisher. Whereas Batman, I guess that was always raging in his head, it was like, oh, I just want to kill the Joker. Yeah, because in the old days, he would have just shot people, you
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. Batman, as we all know, or at least a lot of us know, was basically the Shadow in spandex, and then they had to change him to, not get sued,
hmm
and then they
hmm
actually made a better character, or not a better character compared to Shadow, but like better compared to the original Batman.
hmm hmm a better evolution.
Yeah,
Because the Shadow was just that character was so big and so everywhere for a long freaking time. Obviously, not as long as Batman,
yeah.
but for its time, it was like the Star Wars of its day. Every freaking every media possible, books, comic books, comic strip, movie, radio, of course. Um, if they had a way to slap that logo and image on something, they didn't hesitate. You
Wasn't it
know,
also the Shadow one of the few fictional characters before the 80s who actually could get the not so much toys, but like lunch boxes and so forth with him on it?
I don't know about. I'm certain it was probably the case because uh, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers were pretty big in that respect as well, with toys and lunch boxes and stuff like that. It's just that's so much even older that they're harder to find, and they may not have even made lunch boxes and stuff like that in the 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
like the traditional ones that we're familiar with. It might have been just a sack lunch for everybody, no matter who you were, just cause. It, it's going back pretty damn far, but
Yeah.
uh,
Contrary to our popular jokes, you're not actually immortal. Or
right,
maybe
right.
you're just asleep during that period. Who knows?
It could have been. I don't. Yeah, but all that stuff is great to get ideas for your games. It doesn't even matter the genre, which a lot of people don't realize that like you could be reading a sci-fi novel and get great ideas for your fantasy RPG and vice versa. As long as you're reading something, and I find the older, pulpier it gets or is, the more inspirational it is because that whole era, while we like to think, Tolkien and the romance stories, not the smoochy romance, but the original definition of romance being, like King Arthur and that sort of thing, is more inspirational. I find that it's not really the case. It's really uh, structured and limited in what was acceptable or accepted for those genres, like King Arthur and things like that. You know, everybody was prim and proper. You know, like on just that was just the way it was. Everybody was like that, and you didn't write about the thief or the assassin unless they were the bad guy, or
Yeah.
just vaguely in passing the street urchins and the peasants, and even then nobody cared. You just went right past that because everybody wanted to hear about the big Prince Valiant kind of hero. Um, but in the pulps, whether it's Doc Savage or the Shadow or Tarzan or whatever, you got a lot more grittier, and you got to see the underbelly and what really does happen in the shadows and things like that, and that makes for a more, I think, exciting kind of role playing game. You don't see a lot of people going, yeah, let's run a group of paladins. You know what I mean? When was the last
Yeah.
time you heard that?
I have, but that's more like because they want to shout Deus Vult and go on crusades
Mhm.
against the demon army. But yeah,
It's like a one time thing, right?
yeah,
Because it's just it's hard, you know. You have to really think about everything you do and say, even if you're not a paladin, but you're just a cavalier or a knight or something. You got to be on your best behavior, unless you're the Black Knight with the twirly mustache thing going on. You got to be very careful,
yeah.
and role players don't want to do that. They don't want to be careful,
Oh my
or they
God!
want
Did
to be
you
too
see
careful.
Okay, so I know it has something to do with some of my friends acting like they're still mad at their Baptist dad, but I digress. But I had like um and yes, I say Baptist because they're American. But that aside, uh, um, well, what's the point again? Oh yeah, they have really hard time like putting into the mindset in this world, gods are real, and you seek their favor, even if you don't follow their what do you call it tenets.
You'd be amazed how many people want to freaking run atheists. I'm like, shut up and read the info packet I sent you and pick one. You
Yeah,
know, I kid you not. I summed it all up for like 2 dozen gods are on one sheet of paper. You know, fill in the blanks. Whatever you think of this god. I said, God of merchants. You're probably right. Whatever you're thinking, the god of merchants is. With the because I would make like one sentence including the alignment and their spheres and who their worshippers were. That's it. I didn't go into any more details than that. And between the name and the little bit of info, every one of my players is either got it right or they just they don't pray to the gods, so they don't care. Um, they let the clerics in the party handle that for them.
yeah, which really annoys me, like to no end. Like that attitude, like because they talk high and mighty about role playing, and then they can't do the simple thing that like, okay, you have a character, gods are inherent to the world. You're literally either talk with beings what they're literally represented. You're seeing their avatars or however the world works,
Well,
and you
I
know
think
there's not just transactional relationship with them. There is also the spiritual relationship.
mhm.
They're not just parasites.
The deities. You mean?
Yes,
I think what it boils down to is that um, because it's not transactional for them, because they're not a priest,
yeah,
they're afraid that they will, if let's just say you got Joe Blow, he's playing a fighter, and I tell him, well, your folks, your family or your people probably worshipped one of these three gods, and he goes around playing, and every once in a while he'll like say for the glory of so and so, tries to do the role playing thing. They may be worried that one of these days their God's going to hear them, not ignore them, but hear them and go, "You have been chosen," and suddenly they got to become like a split class cleric. because that one of two things is going to happen if you keep doing that. If you keep saying and role playing the religiosity, they're either going to hear you or they're going to ignore you, right? And
Yeah.
most players would rather be ignored, and the best way to be ignored is to not draw attention to themselves.
Yeah, I never. Okay, I don't think I ever had that issue, but I also never like forced. Okay, I of course make players anti-paladins if they deserved it or like lose their clerical powers, but I don't actually think I ever forced them to be like, oh, now you're a cleric. Also, because there is an assumption that like a cleric is a person who also gone through what do you call it, rituals and doctrine.
How about though, like you've got a thief, right? And the thief, occasionally will say a prayer to the thief god, right? And they're going up in levels. Well, if they're going up in levels and they keep saying a thanks or a prayer to the thief god, it's starting to be implied that god's noticing it, because lo and behold, your thief's eighth level. That's a big accomplishment. The thief god knows who you are now. You know what I mean? You're an eighth level
Yeah.
freaking thief. He knows who you are, and lo and behold, you say, may the thief God bless my excursion tonight as I go to rob so and so, and then you roll your percentile dice as the DM. One of those times, you're going to roll really low or really high, whatever it takes to make sure that that informs you that yes, your God just heard you and went, oh, so you're going to be robbing so and so tonight. Let's see how this. And he's like watching you now. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And maybe he'll give you a little bonus. Maybe he'll make it a little harder. But either way, now you're on the god's radar. And at what point does the god go, you know what? You are a really, really good thief. I really like your style. I really like what you're doing. You are, a chip off the old block, so to speak, when it comes to being a thief. How do I reward you or punish you? Because that's all they're going to do. They're not going to just sit and watch forever unless
Yeah.
you're a lazy DM. They're going to be like, "Well, let's challenge you, shall we? Let's put you on a little quest without your knowing. I'm going to give you a patron who's me, who wants you to steal this thing because I want it. And if you succeed, you get rewarded because, I'm not a dick. And that reward is going to make you a better thief because why wouldn't it? Because you're a god of thieves. And next thing you know, they're kind of, being mentored, observed, or messed with by a freaking deity who, semi all powerful. Where do you go? I mean, do you just go, okay, I got other thieves to watch. It was cool watching you. Good luck. Maybe I'll check in on you at 10th level if you're still alive. In any good thief story like Grey Mouser and Fafford, who do have two semi weird, could be divine patrons that send them on missions later in the books, you
Yeah.
could start going that route where, the God of Thieves is a little more invested in this particular thief's career than not.
Mm. I mean, that is a great wing and a thing, and I will say, how do the gods show signs? For all the fault of Paizo, one thing they did do with Pathfinder First Edition, at least some of the early ones, is one of the lines of like the description of God is was like what signs they send, like if it's like a rainbow or something like
Okay,
that.
okay.
And that is a thing I think people should incorporate to your gods if they have some
I
kind of
really like that. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. Like a little omen, or a little,
yeah.
you could take it as a sign from God, or it just could be a coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're religious and you've ever experienced a sign, like you said,
I
um,
have.
and so that's that's an awesome feeling, even if it's not real. You felt the presence of something out of the ordinary, and that makes the rest of your day kind of, or at least until you like forget about it. You're like rolling like plus one or two on all your die rolls for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
Which I think plus one is actually so freaking insignificant. It drives me crazy. Mathematically, all right, you get plus one. Whoop these shit. Thanks, DM. You freaking cheap bastard. Plus one? Really? I mean, that's 5%. That's 1 in 20. You know, if it actually makes the difference, how do I even notice as a character, not as a player?
Yeah.
Obviously, I know mathematically, hey, thanks for that +1, but the character's like, I went to all that trouble and, you know,
Yeah.
I rolled without needing it. I rolled what I needed, versus like you really want to impress me, throw out a 3 or a 5. It's like, all right, you get +5. Oh shit! If I fail that, I don't deserve it. You know, I mean, it may seem like a lot, but I mean, is the bonus like, something that I mean, how hard did you work to try to get the advantage, regardless of what the number is?
Yeah.
I always use this as a great example. You ever done any shooting?
Yes. When I was a kid, I did get to shoot a hunting rifle, and then it
Okay.
was taken away from me because we only get one shot.
Oh, okay.
Like they didn't want us to be like, oh, they're seeing World War II movies. They know to pull the thing back and shoot again.
Okay. I always equate it to like this in shooting. The difference between taking a gun and pointing it, right?
Yeah.
You're at a minus, right? You're not doing it right. Okay, now taking it and aiming it with the iron sights that are built in, right?
Yeah.
You should get at least an even or a bonus, right? To hit.
Correct.
Okay, now you take that same rifle, you put on a scope and a laser dot, where it puts the red dot where you're supposed to, if you pull the trigger, it's going to hit where that red dot is. Okay, you get a huge bonus. It's almost like a guarantee. I mean, unless you're like freaking retarded, you know what I mean, and you're not even looking, But if you're looking down through the scope, you see the red dot right in the chest. You pull that trigger. Physics tells you that you hit.
Yeah.
Okay, but in games, you're lucky if you get a +2 for all of that. That's dumb. That's not how it works. You know what I mean?
And that is in part because they are dealing with lower numbers.
I tend to just chalk it up to the fact that one, they've never shot a gun, and two, it's a game, and they
Oh yeah,
want,
definitely the first one.
they want it to be, hard. And I'm like, why? I don't care. I don't care if they kill everybody in the scenario. I don't care. There are going to be repercussions, but I'm not going to take it personally. It's like, oh, you freaking walked through all my freaking NPCs. You just blew them away. Yeah, well, there's consequences. Each one of those NPCs knows a whole bunch of other NPCs that are now pissed off at the PCs.
I mean, that is what do you call it? A common thing that you shouldn't be afraid that the NPCs, what do you call it, slash, not your big bad guy, because you usually think like Sauron when you say that, but like if
Right.
they kill like a boss of a organization and so forth, there could always be someone to take over,
hmm
unless
But
you're like really meticulous with the blade and have a lot of information.
mhm. but with
Uh,
other non-shooty situations, I've watched players like really prepare for a thing, right?
yeah.
I mean, like come up with this freaking wild thing, and the DM says, "Okay, you get +2 on the roll."
Ouch.
Okay, next time we're just gonna roll. We just wasted 4 hours of putting together this thing, and when the rubber hits the road, the DM says +2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We
I
had everybody working like a fine oiled machine, and that only gave us a 10% bonus on the chance of success. No, that's not. I mean, if that was the case, mankind would not even be having these conversations on the internet because we'd still be using tin cans and string. When we work together, when we freaking plan shit out, we don't leave anything to chance anymore.
Yeah.
We really don't. We've even in the old days when someone was building, like a windmill to mill their corn or their grain or whatever, There was no, oh, we rolled a 4 on building the windmill. It just collapsed. That didn't happen. You know what I mean? You
I
just,
mean, there you could also implement minimum rates of success. Like it's not how much you've well, if you succeed or not, but it's like you set like the minimum ceiling of what they can achieve with that, and then you see how much they go over.
because again, it's because it's a game,
Yeah,
and there has to be a chance of failure. Um, but sometimes in the real world, there is none.
yeah,
There's no chance of failure. You fucking did all the things right. You know, I'm not going to just leave it to a freaking die roll because it's a game that defeats the purpose of uh, planning
yeah.
and going through all the steps to put together this real plan. You know, only to roll well within the number that you just needed to succeed without the measly bonus, or rolling so freaking horribly that it doesn't even make sense how you could have failed that miserably. You know what I mean?
I
When you
do.
when you roll when you like say you made this great plan, and in a game with varying levels of success and failures, uh and you rolled the one, and so you suddenly accrued or whatever, like three catastrophic failures. I mean, you as the DM got to now suddenly think, well, okay, I don't know shit about windmills. How are three different ways that it could fail? You know what I mean? And you're spending like 20 minutes of game time going, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? Trying to
Yeah,
figure out what the degree of failure is when you've got you know it's not like you've got like nothing but peasants who don't know what they're doing, because if that was the case you should accrue some penalties. But if
yeah.
you've got seasoned
I mean,
professionals.
if you still want to have some randomness in it, but not like like I said, like have minimum rate of success.
Mhm,
Depending on how your bonuses are, what do you call it? You could say like they already start at 10, like as in, and then they say like if it's something like Pan Fighter, they would roll a d10 to see
mhm,
what the final number is, and then add their modifiers. If there's something like AD&D or Basic, they would roll a d20 because of course the modifiers are lower there.
mhm.
And that's one way I could see you could do it. Like you say, you have already succeeded. Like see how well it goes
Yeah,
by
because
starting with base 10.
mhm, I like that. Mini Warmont, good to see you. Hey, are you participating in our sci-fi super soaker space gun challenge? I never heard back from you. Just to show you off, this is a squirt gun I'm going to be modifying to make it look like a sci-fi movie prop. Just add some bells and whistles and some little gribblies to it. Try to make it not look exactly like this. I'm working on a scope maybe and a couple of other little things. If you are, you need to send me a picture or something by July 7th. That gives you about 9 days to go to your local dollar store and spend up to $10 on a squirt gun, and then take it home and make it look, you know, like it came out of a sci-fi movie. Believe it or not, though, that one came with a tag that said it's illegal to make it look like a real gun.
I know that's
Do they not know guns in the police force? I mean, is there
they
some
do
gun
this
that looks
just
like
what do you
that?
call it? First up, lawyers and politicians exist, and then it is also just to make sure that some random kid doesn't get shot because they don't point at people.
And to be fair, I own a shotgun. Uh, yeah, Discord. Yeah, or you can just make a video and show it off, and there is a prize. And the
So
prize,
Shadow. After that, I had two things. Go ahead.
there is a prize. The prize is one of the original Mark's glow in the dark plastic army men of the creature from the Black Lagoon, valued at about $20. That I'll send to the winner. Even if you're outside the country, I'll find a way. It shouldn't be too expensive to send a little freaking statue of the creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, but yeah, Discord or make a video, whatever. You were gonna say, Dean?
Yeah, so the two things I have, let's start with the first. So we talked about what rewards DDs could give other than like train and so forth and give jobs.
Uh huh.
One thing they can do, especially if you don't have that much plane or travel, you could also have them send servants, what you call it, either trade or barter with the PCs.
Uh huh. Like an avatar or something, or an angel,
An angel, yeah, like in like someone from the celestial bureaucracy or something like that, depending what setting you're in.
Valkyrie.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
one type of reward you can do.
Or like maybe their patron animal, like a lion just shows up and rips the bad guys a new one just out of nowhere, and then the lion just runs off. Hey, where'd that lion go? I don't know, but thanks. It was a sign from the gods. Zeus sent a mighty lion to aid us in our quest. Let's continue and give thanks and all that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and the second thing that was the thing where when God shows pleasure and displeasure. So when you look it up in a Pathfinder campaign setting or something, they call it providence. So an
Mm-hmm.
example here, Prasma, she's the goddess of graveyards and the death, and generally processing people into the afterlife. When she shows her pressure, it's often signified with the appearance of scarabs or the bird associated with him, and both can act as psychopomps, aka Grim Reapers. And then there's also next one is
Did you just
like
say psychopomp?
yeah.
Wow, that's a word I haven't heard in freaking a long time.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, Paizo they use that for their true neutral outsider who are the one who helps the dead.
Okay.
So
Uh,
that's an example, or at least one of the example of how she shows pleasure. Her, and then she signified this pleasure by causing
I
bleeding
thought
from
it was always
beneath the
curling the toes,
nails.
but
So what?
I said I thought it was always curling the toes, but okay.
Oh yeah, an unexplained taste of
But
rich soil, or the discovery of a dead bird associated her. That's some way she showed displeasure. I will say the nail ones. That's pretty rough.
mm-hmm. But yeah, those are actually really good ideas. Because I noticed that like even myself, I don't like running clerics. I don't do it. Just there's nothing about it that's it's fun because I don't like any of the deities.
Yeah,
They all bore the shit out of me, and you know it's like just yeah. I'll run a druid from time to time because I just think they're ridiculous and like they're just a wizard of nature. They just end up coming across like a wizard. They can use a curved sword and a shield and calls down lightning from the sky instead of from their fingertips. You know, um,
and make the enemy situation unbearable.
but other folks they dig it. But have you noticed that it's like a disproportionate number of the clerics end up being dwarves?
People do really like Moradin, yes.
And up until a couple of years ago, I'd never heard of that god. I don't know where he comes from. I don't remember him in any of my mythology books. Um,
Okay, I don't know what his inspiration is, but I know like Moradin was always like a fan in Greyhawk,
yeah,
and
see,
I
I
don't
didn't do
remember if he's
Greyhawk.
in Forgotten Realms.
Okay, that's why. Um,
But yeah, he was definitely a Greyhawk DD, which also means
which
like
is which is
everyone.
really funny, because like what uh, a lot of games like Castles and Crusades and Pathfinder and others use all the Greyhawk stuff they can freaking get away with. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But then spout how much they dislike D&D or Gygax or you know what I mean? It's just like okay, you don't like it, but you're using the shit out of it. Gotcha. That makes no sense to me.
it does to me, but that's because um, they're taking like a conquering. Okay, they're not conquerors, but they think they are. They're taking
Okay,
something
there.
someone else made and making their own, but they don't see it as in they're
Yeah, yeah.
inheriting it.
We in my neck of the woods we call that swiping.
They call it what?
Swiping. It's a slang for stealing.
Oh yeah,
You're like Swiper from Dora the Explorer. No swiping.
I actually never watched Dora Explorer. That was before my
I mean,
time.
neither.
Sorry, that was after my time. I mean,
Yeah, mine too. And my son, I wouldn't allow him to watch any girly cartoons whatsoever. It's like, it's for girls. You can't watch it.
all I know is like people. Every time there's like some kind of immigration law, people make fun that she's getting deported.
Well, she's
Dora,
Mexican.
can you find the ICE agent?
Yeah, that's funny. Can you believe it? I 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I know. I managed to zenithal about 20 of these today. Not bad, not bad. I mean, it's painting by braille. You just barely have to look at what you're doing to do this, but um, the hard part will be the next part, which is the next layer, which will be antique white for some and regular white for others. But I'm kind of proud of myself. Just going to say that because I'm getting better at some of these procedures that aren't really the creative part. It's like, and it's technically just primering, but with you know a little bit more attention to detail, and like this little freaking giant centipede
Yeah,
to make sure you don't just cover them in all white and the paint doesn't go into those dark shadowy recesses. It does take some practice, but it's really you don't do a lot of painting, do you?
I haven't really done that in decades now. Yes, I can say decades. Yeah, I
Okay,
couldn't. Yeah,
it's fun.
because it
It's
was like when I was teenager, I did it, and then I still like have all my unpainted Warhammer Fantasy stuff. I just need to buy paint for it. I know I'm not gonna try to revitalize whatever paint I'm laying around.
Stephen Kennedy. Oi, check out old Swords Rain RPG. So good. Never even heard of it. I'll try and check it out, but unless somebody sends me a link or something, I probably won't. Mike, good to see you. Mordain Blasphemy. Yeah, I don't know anything about him. I uh, just know that he's like in like every game I'm playing, somebody's playing a cleric to him, and I'm just like, okay, it's weird. In my day, it was like everybody worshipped Thor. Okay, uh, it was just the default. Even the dwarves worship Thor, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not how that should work. But okay, whatever. No, he's a cool god. He goes after John. Yeah, but he's a human god, and you're a stunty. So what's up with that? A little human worship there, a little human envy going on. Um,
It would be very ironic what they call that a dwarf. If we take from a mythological perspective, that dwarf worshipping Thor, when they're like, yes, they had what do you say, trade occasionally, but it was also like both of them trying to scam each other, and
yeah,
mostly Thor like being angry that they were trying to scam him.
yep. They weren't like it wasn't. I don't know. It was weird. It was
Yeah.
weird. It's hold on. Old Sword Rain is a treasure of a game. It's on Amazon POD. Uh, uh, like I said, never heard of it. Who makes it? Tell me a little bit more about it. You got 3 minutes, and then I'm saying adios for the day because I got I got Jackie's birthday party is this week, so we got to like redo the whole house, make sure everything is spick and span,
Oh yeah,
and
his mother is Mexican.
Nice. You caught that reference, which is really weird because nobody uses that word anymore in that way. Um, but I always think it's funny when I go down the cleaning aisle and Spick and Span is still on the shelf. Um, it's a cleaning product like Fantastic or 409 or LA's Awesome, but that's literally where it comes from. Back in the day, that little bit of racism is still that company's like, yeah, we're sticking with it, motherfuckers. Do something about it.
Yeah, they're not gonna take away the jobs from people of color to give it to white
Yeah,
people.
they'll take it away from imaginary characters like Uncle Ben and
Yeah.
Mrs. Butterworth and things like that, and the Indian girl on Land O'Lakes, Butter. But hey, Mike, did you enjoy your gift? Did you open it? I don't know how you can even write. I mean, I was on pins and needles all day yesterday, wanting to open my Kickstarter box. I had to wait. I woke up at 10:30 in the morning, and it was already on my doorstep, and I had to wait till like 9:30 at night for Jackie to help me record the unboxing of it. And I was just like, oh, it was driving me nuts all freaking day. I can't wait to open it. Can't wait to open it and see what's in it. Start you know looking at the books and playing with the minis and all that. And I don't know how people could do that. I know some people, like, days will go by before they open a package. I'm like, who can do that? That's like eating one potato chip for me.
I done that once, but it's more like because like I like bought a bedside table, and then
Mhm.
instead of like so I put it like near my bed to like the box with it to like pack it out, and
Uh-huh.
then the box with the table inside it ended up being the new table for like a few days. Then I remember, oh wait, I should actually unpack that and put the tables together so I have the table.
Okay. Okay.
But
Yeah,
it
not
could
me.
also just be I had like a stressed period. I'm not sure.
As a matter of fact, the doorbell just rang a minute ago. I don't know if you guys heard it.
No.
It's this weird music, which means there's probably a package waiting downstairs for me at this very moment. I've not opened it yet. I'm milking the dopamine. Okay, that's unusual. I've never heard that before, but I will try it. But I don't know, man. I just got to prime, 90% of the minis that were in the box. I mean, I still have the beholder, the characters, and the dragon but I'm saving those for last. But I did manage to knock out about 25, almost 30 of the minis from the Kickstarter. Maybe this time tomorrow I'll be actually adding colors and not shades of gray before I get to it. But um, I don't want to rush through it and then be like back to where I was yesterday or the day before. What am I going to paint next? I need to get, uh,
1 minute.
pardon?
1 minute.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Um, and thanks for hanging out with me today, Dean.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
It's always a pleasure. Um, but I am going to go and do some people stuff and get my day moving along, getting ready for Jackie's big 18th birthday. Can you believe it, folks?
Unfortunately, time is it's a thing that happens no matter we want it or not. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find a way to watch the very first video with you guys because I know a lot of you have never seen it. I'll mention it, but I know people, not everybody is going to go all the way back through 1,300, 1,500 videos to find the first video we ever did. But I'm gonna find a way to watch it on a live stream for our anniversary. Watch the very first
is
cringy
it the Dungeon
video.
and Laser reviews or
Yes, yeah,
if you
the
go to
unboxing,
the videos, there is
a
you can
playlist.
pick latest, popular, or oldest.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right.
So yeah,
We
Jackie,
did
he
do
looked
some
a lot
playlists.
different back then, and he had longer hair.
Actually, his hair grew out. It started kind of short, grew out, got really long, and then it went freaking, military style. And now that he's out of the military, JROTC, I think he's going to let it grow again because One of his best friends, a couple of his friends have long hair. His uncle has long hair. His old man has long hair, and I think he's just gonna just like milk the entire year, just like is slack, just slack off as much as possible
Yeah.
for
I
one
mean,
year,
his
and then
privilege of youth is that you can actually grow long hair.
or
Yeah.
you can have a
But
pact with a dark power and be blessed
yeah.
like me. I'm
But yeah,
kidding, of course.
I hope you have a great day then, Shadow.
Thanks, Dean. Hopefully, I'll see you again this week. Everybody
Yeah.
in TV land out there, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Have a
And I'll
great one
see
and God bless.
see some of you tonight in Bubba's game, and some of you I will see tomorrow. Till then, happy trails.